much for being here. I want to point out that if you are sitting next to an empty chair, will you raise your hand? Just in case people want to come forward, there's lots of spaces, so please feel free to move up if you would like. My name is Leni Manaa-Hoppenworth. I am the new Alderwoman of the 48th Ward, and I welcome you here to Andersonville. If you do not know, Andersonville, Edgewater, and Uptown is a part of the 48th Ward. We're also here with many prestigious guests, which I can't wait for you to meet. But I do want to impart to you that this is just one of many conversations that I would like to continue to have with you as we move forward to reimagine public safety, which is the name of this panel today. There are many people that are going to be missing from this panel, including parents, students, teachers, small business owners. This is just a slice. I did include an invitation to our new police superintendent, Chief Snelling, who sends his regards, because what he also wants is what we want to, is to meet with each other, to build community, to find ways to reimagine what we can do together, because what we're doing right now isn't working. 40% of our city budget goes towards policing, and yet not everybody feels safe. And what we want is for everyone to have all of their basic human needs met, including housing and healthcare, and that includes mental health supports. And in that way, we can build a community where everyone can not only live but thrive and feel safe, to walk down the streets at any given time of the day, to the CTA on the L stops, to school, to their medical appointments. We should all have that. So I will pass it on to our moderator today. It's Nicole Ranaghi, our Chief of Staff of the 48th Ward, and we're going to do introductions. We hope to have a great conversation, and then also leave time for us to meet with each other, to get to know one another, and then also to find ways to continue to connect. So thank you all for being here.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wouldn't want to sorry. Hi everybody, Alderperson Andre Vasquez of the 40th Ward. 40th Ward is from Clark to around Kedzie, from Lawrence all the way to Lunt. So we're like the west side of Andersonville, if you will. Thank you all so much for really organizing yourselves and really bringing up what we know are concerns that we all have, right? We all want to make sure that we can live, work, shop without really feeling scared. And so I think in the interest of everyone getting as much information as possible about what it's actually looking like as far as statistics compared to the rest of town, statistics year over year, also what's being done, right? So I appreciate that Alderwoman Manaa-Hoppenworth helped convene this together, and so you're seeing all the different stakeholders. So we've got CCPSA, let me correct that. Our district councilors from the 20th district are here with us. We've got Senator Mike Simmons along with other folks, because we all want to hear from you. We want to be able to hear the questions and concerns that you have and answer them to the best of our ability. For those of you who may not already be signed up, I would recommend that you sign up to all of the newsletters everyone's got here, because we do share this information weekly, if not more often. So thank you all so much for having us. I do look forward to the conversation, and once this kind of wraps up towards the end, we'll be staying around for more conversations with folks. Just wanted to level set. So thank you all so much.
Thanks. I'm just going to ask everybody on the panel to briefly introduce themselves, and then to get us kicked off, I have some questions that y'all sent on through email, and then we can collect questions from the index cards too.
We don't need that.
No, did you hear me? You guys hear me? Thank you.
All right.
So my name is Darrell Dacres. I was elected on the district council for the 20th district. That's communities from Peterson to Lawrence, from the river to the lake. I also serve as district, in that district I work on violence prevention, so I also work as in the community for Uptown as well as Rogers Park. I'm the program director for violence prevention in that whole area. I also work on the police accountability team, so the issues in the community as far as public safety is very important to me, and I just hope to represent people well, just trying to give you some background on some of the work that I do outside of the neighborhood and outside of the hat that I wear as district council. I'm also on the nominating committee as far as my role in district council, and I'll just pass that to Deirdre.
Hi there, I'm Deirdre O'Connor.
You just did the right angle.
Working great at this, great, oh, there you go, all right, there you go. I'm Deirdre O'Connor. I am a 40th Ward resident, recently elected to the CCPSA. I also work for the 40th Ward Alder, Andre Vasquez, as his Director of Neighbor Services. And yeah, lived in the 40th Ward my entire life, and looking forward to having really meaningful conversations with everyone here regarding public safety and really getting your feedback so that we can be a better community.
Hi everyone, my name's Anna Rubin. I'm your 3rd 20th Police District Council Representative. I've lived in Andersonville in the 40th Ward for the past 7 years. I am the chair of the 20th District Police Council, so I'm in charge of running our monthly meetings that are happening across the 20th Police District. And we'll talk more about our next one coming up on October 9th at the end of the meeting. And my hope is just to be able to be a representative in the community when it comes to issues of public safety and policing in the district, and supporting us all and coming together around alternatives to public safety and policing to, like Leni was saying, come up with solutions that will work for our community that are maybe not the things that we're seeing not working in our community at the moment.
I'm gonna go without the mic too. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Commander James Baier of the 20th District. Newly appointed commander of 20. We used to have Brendan McCruden. It's tough shoes to fill, but I'm up to the challenge. First off, I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your evening to be here. Second, I'd like to acknowledge everybody at the panel. We work well together in my short time here. Got amazing all the people and council members and Chamber of Commerce and the Senator. Thank you. So got a great panel of people up here. I see some friendly faces in the crowd, so welcome. Thanks again for joining. Those of you I don't know, I'll just give you a little background. 24 years on, I've been a commander for a little over a year, 3-4 months. I come from the south side. I'm learning the north side, so, but I'm here with an open mind. I'm here to hear your concerns and try and make the quality of life better in Andersonville, Edgewater, Uptown. I have my captain, Fred Hewlett. Fred, you want to step up?
Yeah, Fred Hewlett was a midnight watch commander here for about 1.5 years prior to being appointed to captain. Had a long history with Commander Baier. We worked together in the 10th District. He was my captain while I was his tactical lieutenant in the 10th District. I was born and raised in the 8th District, moved to the north side in 2017. And again, once I moved up here, I was able to come to the 20th District. So, new to the district, but I've gotten to learn it over the last 1.5 years.
And I don't want to exclude my, she's going to be mad I put her on the spot, but this is my admin sergeant, Jennifer Oswald. She's part of our management team, so we got good people here to listen to your concerns. We're going to do our best to accommodate everybody and listen, and hopefully we can come to peaceful resolutions. No guarantees on everything in life, but for the majority, we're here to help and listen, so thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike Simmons and I serve as a state senator for the, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I serve as a state senator for the 7th District, which covers Andersonville, Ravenswood, Uptown, Edgewater, Lincoln Square, Rogers Park, parts of West Ridge, and North Center. And it's really good to be here tonight. I appreciate that this meeting was organized. I think it's on time that we're doing this. I want to thank all the neighbors that came out tonight and are being engaged. That's half the battle, is just having folks that are engaged in spaces like this. I want to double click what Alder Vasquez said about the newsletters. I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to keep this dialogue going beyond just tonight. So my staff, Shanika Hohenkirk here is my director of outreach. We put a newsletter out probably about every 10 days or so with lots of updates. So I want to encourage you to sign up for our newsletter and all the other elected officials also, because that's half the battle, is just kind of knowing what we're doing. We want to hear regularly from you so that we can have the safe communities that we all want and should have. So thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Austin. I am the Executive Director with the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce. I've been with the Chamber for about 6.5 years. Now, can you hear me? No? Okay. Okay. I don't want to use that. I can try. Okay, everyone, now I'll start again. Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm Laura Austin. I'm the Executive Director with the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce. I've been with the Chamber since February of 2017. I want to echo everyone's statements here that it's great to see you all out participating in these conversations. That's one thing that my colleague David Oakes and I are really trying to do, is re-engage with neighborhood block clubs, kind of hear what folks are concerned about, what we need to know from them in order to best service our business districts and the residents in the surrounding areas.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'll use this. All right, I'm gonna use the mic so I don't have to shout the questions. Hello, hello. All right, so does anybody have an index card with a question already? Okay, there's a few in the air. Angel back there is gonna pick them up from y'all, so keep them raised. And if you need an index card or a pen, let Angel know and he can bring you one. I'm gonna start off with some of the questions that came to us through the form with the invite to this meeting. I'm gonna paraphrase them to, for privacy's sake of the folks who sent them. So if it is your question and I'm wording it a little differently, that's why. And I'm gonna let the panel just kind of jump in and decide who would like to answer. So the first question is, what is the plan for addressing the uptick in crime? Hello, okay, sorry.
I think the volume needs to get turned.
Wear the headset, do the whole headset.
I know, I gotta put it on. It's like the angle, it's like an angle. Alright. Is that help? No. Hello? Oh, wow, okay, there we go. Alright, this is silly. Okay, the first question is, what is the plan for addressing the uptick in crime, violence, crime, and theft? And how many officers are assigned to our area from the 20th district?
I can take that?
Yeah.
I take cash donation.
All right, in regards to that question, it's a two-parter. So, addressing crime overall. Now that could be a tricky question. However, we're traditional in some respects, but we also have new technology and work with a lot of community partners. So our traditional aspect is patrols. We have tactical teams. We have bicycle patrols. We have our CAPS people that go out in the community, work with folks such as yourself. But we also have technology. In the 20th district, we have 61 pod cameras and 12 license plate readers to help catch offenders in the act of either traditional crime or the LPRs or license plate readers, for those that you don't know that acronym, but those help prevent people that are stealing cars that lead to future crimes like robberies or shootings, which we don't really have a lot of shootings in this district. I just want to preface that. To the community aspect, we have the new district council that we work hand in hand with. Even though our introductions are new, we jumped right into the fire to start working together. We share a lot of info via email, text. When they know stuff, they send it to us. When we know stuff, we send it to them. Also with the Chamber of Commerce, we have met a few times since I've been here. We have a good relationship. I'm seeing there's a lot of block clubs in this area. And actually, I learn more from the block clubs than I do CAPS meetings, because more people attend the block clubs. So thank you for anybody who has a block club. That's where I get a lot of info. And that info gets filtered out throughout the troops within the district. We run traffic missions. We have maps that we study. I didn't bring a copy for everybody, but we're very analytical driven. We have heat maps that come out once a week that show us where the hot spots are, if you will. And then we redirect our resources to those locations. So say we see an uptick on Clark and Foster. I'm still learning the streets, forgive me. Then if we see a cluster, then we'll saturate more patrols in that area. We'll put, if the weather's accommodating, we'll put up bike patrols because they're more engaging one-on-one than the car just driving by. We can have mobile plate readers come in to the district. For instance, we had an uptick in motor vehicle thefts along Western. We brought in this machine that looked like something you would rent at Rent-A-Max, and it captured vehicles zipping up and down Western because it's the main thoroughfare. We didn't catch any, but you know, there's always, we're trying. So, I don't know if that really answered your question, but yes, ma'am.
It was actually my question.
Okay.
You answered some of it. I think part of my concern is that we do hear when the crime is happening, but we very rarely hear a follow-up. Like, did we catch them, or what are we doing to prevent it from happening? I know that we used to see a lot more police in our neighborhood. I know you guys are short-staffed, but I very rarely see any police in our neighborhood. Are they redirected? I guess my question is, does the 20th district still have a good number of officers, or are they being sent elsewhere?
No, we actually seen an increase in officers.
Okay,
I know
that's
there was
good
a
to know.
push from the alders. I don't know if it was these alders or previous alders with the last superintendent. I believe I have to check the numbers. Fred, if you got your phone.
I
maybe
think
check.
presence helps.
I think, you know, of course, I think we have 261 on paper.
Okay.
That's on paper, but be mindful that we have people on vacation. We have people in training. We have people that are hurt, sick, and have regular days off. So on average,
Is that like a normal number? I don't have a concept.
well, throughout the city, this is way above my pay grade, but they rank districts based on crime.
Right. And we're low, so we don't
We're
get
low
that.
crime, so we have lower numbers. Like if you compare this to Inglewood, they might have in the range, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing they have probably 350 officers.
Okay.
So everything's relative to crime in the city. However, when we do put up people on overtime to help supplement. Like again, if we saw a cluster of crimes, I would go through my bosses and get authorization for overtime to saturate more officers. But since the past few years, really since COVID, law enforcement has seen kind of an exit.
Can we
And
get our beat cop back again?
well, that would be ideal, but we don't have.
Can we get
The
our
beat
beat
cop.
cop back again?
We're trying to implement that back, but we don't have steady officers that can. Back in the old days, everybody knew it was Officer Joe or Officer Kate, but now officers move around so much that it's hard to keep people in one area. There's contractual rights, there's bidding rights, but that's something I would have to go to my bosses and look into. But I'm not saying it's out of the running. Add to it?
So, especially for manpower, especially speaking from coming from Midnights, with it being a low crime district, what we do see is a lot of our people get detailed out a lot. We'll lose out. So we do have 266 total. That includes us sergeants, lieutenants. There's one captain, one commander, 7 lieutenants. What we do deal with a lot, the commander's starting to see it as details. I've dealt with that a lot. When I'm down in cars, I used to have to down cars on Midnights. Because we'll have 7 or 8 officers detailed out. We're a very young district right now because of the move to bring people. We're getting a lot of new recruits. And they're very young, so we're splitting up partners.
And that comes with good and bad. Chicago's great for events. We probably lead the nation in events. From Taste of Chicago, Lollapalooza, whatever, NASCAR, and like the captain's saying, they put out, we need people to be in the central business district to help So sometimes, he's right, we have to send our officers on loan, which then takes it away from this area, so.
I'll add to that. I have raised my family in Andersonville for the last.
Can't hear you.
I've raised my family in Andersonville. We've been there for 24 years. And as the new alderperson, we opened up our office on Bryn Mawr. So I see the difference between this economic corridor, Clark Street, and also Bryn Mawr, where there are less storefronts, there are more empty storefronts, there is construction on the red line right now, and there's a higher concentration of single residence occupation over there. So it's a very different part of the ward, but I will attest to what the commander is saying is that when we have needed to call 911, they have responded. And really, at the end of all of this conversation, I would like you to know that it is important for us to work together. If something violent happens, like what happened not too long ago on Clark Street on a Saturday in the middle of dinner time, where someone just roguely started beating people up on the streets, when we call 911, we want responses. I will tell you that on Bryn Mawr, where there's less pedestrian traffic, where there's less business, there are people who come there from other parts of Chicago to work, you know, because that's where they're getting their sales from. They're literally coming to Bryn Mawr to work. And we have had, you know, times that we have felt unsafe. I'm imploring you to talk to your CAPS officers, go to your beat meetings, join your block clubs, and also understand that we are all in this together, because safety belongs to everybody. But if we're not getting our basic needs met, then we're going to continue on what we're doing now. That's why I'm really excited to work with our new district counselors to understand what are we doing and how is the conversation changing. That's why I'm really excited to work with our state representatives to find out the policies that are really going to keep us safe. That's why I'm excited to work with the Chambers of Commerce, of which we have 3. We have Uptown, Andersonville, and Edgewater. Some wards don't have any Chambers of Commerce at all. We're really rich in so many resources, and Andersonville is shared by Alderman Vasquez and I. So we really truly want to understand how we can continue forward, making sure that people have what they need. So thank you for those updates, Commander.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is since we've taken office, one, I'm looking forward to who will be our new police superintendent. So in the past term, we have been trying to find out what adequate numbers look like for each district. We never got them. They would always say, well, we're trying to move officers to where they're needed the most, but it's never been data driven as to how many are needed in each district, so we would know for above, below, what that looks like. So I do look forward to conversations with who will be our new superintendent to really see if we can get more data driven, right? Because the more you find out, the more information you know, the more you understand if there are gaps at all, or if we're just saying whatever we need to say to move people in different directions. I think it was striking to me to hear the difference between Inglewood and here as only being 100 officers, because if you know the activity that happens in a lot of other places. So I think folks here should understand, when you compare the two, that feels pretty adequate compared to what we have in the 20th, right? I think the 20th, if you look at by any statistic, comes up as like the safest police district in the city of Chicago. Every week we share the information and compare. But again, we're going to make sure we get more information as far as what adequate numbers look like so we can provide that to our neighbors.
Thank you all. Okay, the next question is about the incident at Clark and Berwyn and about police response times. So the police response time for the first attack on Clark and Berwyn on August 5th was about 30 minutes, according to this neighbor. Is this the typical type of response time that we can expect for this type of incident? Since the response time to the first attack was 30 minutes, the police didn't arrive until after the second attack. Let's take that one.
You're gonna get sick of me after a while. Now, no disrespect, but I'm gonna have to punt this one a little bit. I didn't start here until August 7th. And I do not know what incident you're referring to, so if someone can enlighten me, but I can address the response time. Now, this comes from OEMC. Now, they're city employees also. They're kind of like a partner with the Chicago Police. But how it works, for those of you that don't know, you call 911, it is prioritized by OEMC, and their headquarters is by the United Center on Madison Avenue, for you, those who don't know. But anyway, it depends on what you call in. Like obviously a shooting, we classify it as a 1A. That means get your butt there now. Or if you call in like
There's a
battery, okay, that's gonna be on a lower scale. And it's based on how many people we have at the moment that day. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for it, because I wasn't there, I can't Monday morning quarterback that, but they could have been on, I don't know if it was a busy day in the district, we had an event, I don't know, I could look into that. But it all depends on what resources are available and how fast they get to the job. Now, if it was prioritized higher, like a regular battery is just people hitting on each other. If someone was stabbing someone, it's gonna escalate it, and the police response would get there faster. Now, again, there's no excuses for 30 minutes unless, you know, I look back and there was no people available. Well, we can't send anybody if we don't have anybody. But new regime, I'm gonna do my best to make sure everybody gets adequate service in a reasonable amount of time. That's, I think we can all agree, reasonable is a good standard to go by. I would love to say, you know, you snap your fingers and 2 policemen are gonna pop out, but that's not realistic. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I also say, there's just been recently an Office of the Inspector General report regarding 911 response times as far as the police department. And so some of it is really making sure officers, when they're getting their 911, are also like actually tagging when they show up. And so, you know, in the heat of everything that's going on, sometimes it's not gonna be the first thing they do. So I think making sure that's a little bit tighter is helpful. But the other thing to keep into account is sometimes people see incidents and they won't call 911, they'll call Facebook and think that Facebook is gonna lead to a response. That's not necessarily the case, right? So what we know is that when a connected community is a safer community, right? So if you're reaching out to 911, follow up and call the chamber, follow up and call one of us. My number is 773-999-3313. Neighbors know it, they tag me on every social media, it's how we roll. But the reason why that's important and why we're that accessible is if there is an incident, let me know as well, because I'll text the commander, I get a response in like 2 minutes, right? So just so that we're all on the same page, that we got eyes and ears on the ground when there are incidents that are assaults, right? I think looking at what happened in the incident that's being referred to, it's clear to me that the assailant had a mental health disorder, and so we've got to deal with that through the longer term, but assault is assault no matter what. And so we want to make sure that when people see any of that activity, you're calling 911. When you're calling 911, you follow up and see if you get a report number, right? So they know, hey, no, this is serious. And then contact one of us. We'll reach out to the commander or the sergeant to see what can be done quickly as well. So I think when I saw it, it was already by the second incident. And at that point, it had already been on somebody's radar, but just to let members know, reach out to as many folks as you can, including your ward offices, so we can help.
Yeah, and I will also add regarding follow-up, thank you for that question. You know, in that case, those that were assaulted, they did not want to come into the police station, or they were not from this area. So it's really hard to get people to come back to where, and also what you're asking people to do is to, you know, relive a trauma. So that's really hard. I had to do that this year several times. I don't want to have to call you. I'm sorry, I don't. I would like to live in a world where I don't have to call police if something happened, but things are happening. And I had to be like walked over to say, look, it's okay, you know, we're gonna do this together, we're gonna file this report, and nothing bad is gonna happen to you because you filed this report. So that's real. The other thing is I wanted to mention that police do too much. You know, they're expected to do so much, including helping somebody with a mental health crisis. You know, right now, at this time, we want an alternative to police when somebody is having a mental crisis, because truly there's too many, especially Black and brown men who die because at the hands of police because they needed resources instead of somebody with a gun. So that's what we want to see. In the meantime, 911 is our number to call right now, and we have a lot of work to do to figure out ways so that the dispatcher knows this is a time where the police needs to be involved. This is the time that a paramedic needs to be involved. This is a time that a social worker needs to be involved. And we're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do before then.
So, hold on. Yeah, so just to level set, we want to go over the questions that are here. If you all have questions, do the index cards.
This is a follow-up on this. I just wanted to commend you for the response time on the Walgreens robbery. Someone called 911 and they got their lickety-split and caught the perpetrators. So that's why it's so important to call 911, and the response time was excellent.
Well, you just stole my thunder, thanks. I was gonna use that
I showed up.
I was gonna use that at the end and do a mic drop and walk out. No, that's because of the citizens, you great citizens. We talked about this at another meeting earlier this week, and without people, you guys are the eyes and ears. If you don't call, sometimes we don't know. And it was like a 40-second jump that these guys would have probably got away, but with the help of the citizens, we were on it.
What's happened to them? Yeah, I know that.
They're held. One was a juvenile. He's in Audie home. The other one's an adult. I would like to think he's still in county. I would have to follow up on that, but they've been prosecuted. It's on Cook County's hands now. So, but
Commander, can I ask a question? This part of what we're trying to do is educate folks on how to properly, when you're calling something in, is there something that folks could have said differently to dispatch? Is there something that they could have included? I've heard times where multiple people call regarding one incident, that gets the call elevated. So is there something more that we can let folks know when we're making these calls?
Well, you're spot on. If the more calls that come in from, say, everybody in this room as opposed to one, the dispatch, in theory, you would think common sense would say, all right, this ain't a fluke. Everybody sees this, get some people there now. Or more details. Sometimes, and it's no offense to regular citizens because they're not educated on what to do, and I get it. They'll call in the wrong description because they're nervous or whatever, and we show up and we don't even know who we're looking for because they give a very vague description. You gotta be really detailed, like orange hoodie, green shoes. Not everybody wears that kind of stuff, but height, weight, details. Oh, he's got a knife. That would expedite it.
You want to mention that one for sure.
Yeah, for sure. A gun, a knife, a baseball bat, a stick. That's gonna elevate the call. Just old school slapping, punching. Yeah, it's a crime, but it's not gonna light a fire under the cop's butt to get there, you know.
And something that the commander highlighted, I want to make sure people understand. You want to call in if you see activity. Just having a feeling about something or someone because you feel like they don't belong in the neighborhood is actually wasting resource because then you have officers responding to things that aren't actual crime. So if you see activity, you call that. I think in the situation, because I won't share who, but I know the neighbor that called it in for the Walgreens one, they were kind of like gaming it out and seeing it, and when they saw the activity and the masks go on and then go in, that's what led to them calling it. So you want to look at the activity that's happening, not necessarily profiling, because that's not going to lead to anything except wasting resource and potentially settlements.
We have a question about 911. One of the 911 callers for the Clark and Berwyn incident on August 5th was frustrated. They said that the dispatcher was asking for a lot of details about the attack that they couldn't provide, like the age of the attacker, and they got so frustrated that they hung up on the caller. The same person said another time they called 911 and the dispatcher got frustrated because the caller couldn't provide the address for Foster Beach. So what can we do about this situation?
I'll take a stab at that one, but again, that goes, and I'm not trying to make excuses again, the OEMC dispatchers, call takers do not work for us directly. They are trained, however, to go through a battery of questions. It's kind of like their script. The more details, the better, like we just talked about in the previous question. If a citizen gets upset because there's too many questions, then that's kind of on them. But the more details we have, the better. Obviously, maybe that OEMC person was having a bad day, frustrated as well. Everyone has a bad day. That's the best answer I can give.
Yeah, I'll say also, because OEMC for y'all is Office of Emergency Management Communications. So when you have an incident like that, and because we did get that question, we'll be following up with the neighbor. We want to know, when did you call, as much detail so we can try to trace that back with the office, just to find out from the other end, like, what was the information received? What does accountability look like as well, just to make sure the system itself is working properly. Again, you gotta imagine these folks are getting emergency calls back to back to back. So sometimes they're not the most, they don't necessarily feel as they're empathetic, because they've gotta deal with this.
But that's their job.
Well, what I mean,
That's their job.
well, their job is to get the information. So
Right.
sometimes it's like, hey, I know how you're feeling, but we
Without
need
being
to.
short
Right.
about it.
Well, and that's why I want to make sure, and we'll follow up with the neighbor to see what happened in this particular incident, right, and kind of get a better sense.
You can ask for their supervisor, that's what I was told previously, so if you didn't know that was an option when calling 911.
That works everywhere, so yes, definitely, absolutely make that.
And you give us what the most important things are to tell the dispatcher that we need to know?
Again, I would say, especially, sanctity of life is always number one. So, someone has a weapon, that's first and foremost. Weapon, put it out there. Even if you don't know what it is. It looks like a gun. It appears to be a gun. It could be a BB gun, it could be a real gun. He's walking down the street with a baseball bat. Weapons, first and foremost. Second, head-to-toe description. Whether it be male, white, black, Hispanic. He's wearing a baseball hat with a Bulls emblem. Depends on the weather. Hoodie, no hoodie, shorts, no, you know. One thing we notice is a lot of offenders, when they do commit crimes, they run and they discard their clothing. One thing they usually don't discard is their shoes. We catch a lot of people based on their shoes. And you know, all Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, they all got these crazy shoes every other day. So we catch a lot of people that you might not see their face, but you're like, that guy had that pair of Jordans, and that's him. So I hope that helped.
Right there.
Mind if I just weigh in on this? This was actually my husband's call. He got hung up on by the 911 dispatcher. We were both there, we were watching. At the same time that we were calling, there were numerous other people on 911 calls. They had lots of calls coming in. I could hear people in the background saying, 911, this is an emergency. You know, there were many people. I just want to note that my husband immediately gave the address, the name of the place, said it was a athletic build black man, thin build in his 30s, 5'10", with no shirt, a black backpack, and carrying something with a Chicago flag on it. I thought those were some pretty specific details. Oh, and short hair, I think he said short hair as well. I thought that was pretty detailed, especially in the, you know, in the moment of everything going on. We were across the street, so he couldn't tell. They wanted the exact age, and he was not really sure. And at that point he was saying, I don't know, mid 30, you know, but they wanted to pin him down, and that's at that point we had given the build, the description, you know, the no shirt, the black backpack, all this, and he kept saying, I'm not sure, like I can't see that far, you know, to see like facial features, and he had given a rough idea, and that was not enough for the person, and they ended up hanging up. And then I had to call, and try to make another call. So that, I think that was where the frustration was on our end, was that we were, right, it's not like we just said, there's some dude beating up some person. Like, we were pretty detailed with it, and I don't think that he felt comfortable saying, you know, oh, he's 25, or oh, he's 55. You know, we wouldn't wanna say, oh, he's a 65-year-old, and then turns out he's 25, you know? So I think he was trying to give the best description he could, but not give any inaccurate info, because that just leads down a different rabbit hole of then having inaccurate info. So I think he was giving as much as he could, which was detailed without, taking a total guess on something. So I think that was where the frustration was, that he ended up getting hung up on, and I remember him just saying, like, she just hung up, like, what do we do now? And we're just, and her kids were there watching the whole thing,
Yeah,
So it's just frustrating also for them to witness that, Daddy calls 911 and gets hung up on.
I'm so sorry that happened. Firstly, please thank him and everybody for calling. And I'm sorry that your kids had to witness that, but it was absolutely the right thing to do, to call. And I hope that we can continue to work together and with OEMC to find ways to help make these dispatchers trained so that they understand what is happening. It's in the moment, and I mean, it comes down to humans at the end of the day, right? We are in the service industry, and so we have to find ways to train. Training is really the key about everything. That's why I'm really excited for our new superintendent, because training is gonna be the key for CPD as well.
I agree with you, Alder. It sounds like it's a training issue on their end. One thing to note, those calls are recorded. Every single call is recorded. Like the other Alder said, accountability on their end. Their supervisors could listen to that call. Everything's saved, archived. And hopefully it's an isolated incident, and maybe this person just needs to be retrained. And if this was a common thing, then we would have a big problem. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but hopefully this person gets the training they need.
That was unfortunately 2 for 2 with us. The other one was the Foster Beach incident, where we said we're at Foster Beach, we're under the pavilion, Foster Beach and Edgewater, corner of Foster and Lakeshore Drive. I imagine that a lot of people don't know the street address for Foster. I don't even know what address it is. And they kept saying, we need an exact address. And we said, we're at Foster Beach and Edgewater, underneath the pavilion where the restrooms are. We need an address. What's the address? To the point where I was then Googling the address, and they just kept saying, what address? What address? And we're thinking anyone who's gonna be from this area, hopefully Foster Beach is corner of Edgewater and Lakeshore Drive, under the pavilion where the restrooms are, is good enough,
Yeah.
You call from a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
You got the times?
I can probably look them up and
Yeah.
see.
Let's trace it back to OEMC, because I was trying to figure out from that to the officers showing up, and it's pretty clear to me that interaction is what slowed everything up rather than officer response. So if we can get more detail on the time and date, I want to take that back to OEMC.
You mean
to
with
figure out.
the Clark Street incident?
Either both. If you know
okay.
when you called both, you got the time and when you called, the
Yeah.
date, send it our way. We'll escalate to the office to see what's going on.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, especially if they got the recordings.
Thank you so much, Alder. I think that is absolutely the key. We have to document what we're doing. We are a very engaged ward, and I think that all of us together, we can find ways forward, but we have to have people accountable for what they do. Exactly, it's their job. So I want to continue to work together with you, and also I would just make this as a point of the case for familiarity. We want to know who we're working with, and it would have been helpful to know who's in that area at that time. Right now, the way we deploy officers is one system, but maybe there are other systems that are better that will create more of a sense of community. I'm looking forward to working with the new superintendent to figure out what that might look like.
Okay, next question. Why are the police not allowed to chase when they see a crime in progress?
I got a tape, but you can, whatever you.
Well, as you all know, Chicago is heavily populated. We used to be able to chase back in the older days, but in most events, it's an innocent bystander that gets the brunt of a crash. And believe you me, and the sergeant captain can attest to it, we're police. We're we want to catch the rabbit. We want to get the bad guy. And it's hard sometimes to not do it, but just because of litigation, civil liability, and it's always the old lady crossing the street, going to the grocery store, or a little kid coming home from school, because the bad guys don't care. They just want to get away because their freedom's in jeopardy. So Chicago took a deep dive, and again, above my pay grade, but unless the risk outweighs the danger, 9 out of 10 times we're not going to chase, because we are more for the sanctity of life. There's always another day to catch the guy. We have helicopters that can track it. We have a lot of LPRs that can get the license plates. Those are some of the tools that help us. We can impound their car, even if it's parked on the street and they flee from us. Those are some of the tools that was passed into legislation, but the short answer is too many civilians were getting hurt, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's same answer. It was deaths and settlements. That was causing a lot of it for the city, looking at the liability of how many people died, that to exactly the commander's point, are innocent bystanders. So I am really glad you mentioned like the LPR, so license plate reader cameras, like that kind of investigation is actually what leads to a lot of it. So I think about a couple weeks ago, there was like a string of about 10 robberies that were kind of like Edgewater-ish area. It was that kind of investigation that actually led to catching the folks that did it, right? And so in 40, we have currently 6 of the, you said 12?
Yeah.
License, we put 6 up in the past term in like major intersections to help out. We've got 2 more coming in like the new parts of 40. So we're looking at that because what we know is, one, just cameras are not preventative. People may feel like cameras are preventative, they're not. However, they can be helpful when it comes to investigation. And so thinking about where they're placed in a way that aids that investigation is more of what we're looking at.
Just that, the camera that's, for example, on Clark and Catalpa, that is a license reading camera or a regular police camera?
That's a regular police camera. Yeah, the license plate reader ones we put more on major intersections. Cause you know, like if somebody's gonna do a vehicle theft, for example, right? They're trying to take the car and go to Lakeshore, go to the highway, take Western or Major Street. So by having the license plate readers on those intersections, we're able to capture when that's happening. And a street like Catalpa Clark just wouldn't have that same level of activity.
So, I mean, there's quite a few in Andersonville. We should be thankful for that.
Can I ask a follow-up question about the LPRs? How long from the time someone calls in a stolen car till that information is active on the LPRs?
Jen, you want to take a stab at that?
Sure. It's immediate. So if a car is passing, say Foster and Clark, the LPR will capture it. The SDSC rooms, strategic decision rooms in each district, which 20s is very good. I was the coordinator in the 10th district. The guys in the 20th district, they're phenomenal. If they know that this call came out and you have the license plate, you need the license plate. Once they run that plate, they can tell every spot that it hits from block to block to block in real time. So it's very important. I know sometimes people don't know their license plates, but if your car is stolen, I mean, you need that, and make sure all your, even if it's like the last 3 or the first 3 digits of the plate, you can do partial plates, but it's live stream. So as soon as you get that information, or you know it is wrong, you know, do a report, do a supplemental report, because that's where we know, you know, when a lot of these guys steal the cars, there's common places where they're dumping them. You know, it may not be in the 20th district, but again, when they do our follow-up investigations, you know, they can track these guys, and then we know what members, you know, what groups to go after, and, you know, hopefully it prevents any further theft.
So the 911 call triggers the...
Not my, no. 911 call, I mean, you'll know your car gets stolen, right? When you, well, someone's car gets stolen. Once the dispatcher puts it out there, if the SDSC room is running it at that time, I mean, they're not constantly listening, you know, I mean, if they're doing something else, a shooting or whatever, but if they run that plate at that exact time, yes, if it passed the plate reader, it will pop up.
Even a partial plate, like if it's just like 3 numbers?
Yes, I mean, it's a little harder, but if you do, like, you know, it ends in 666, you know, I mean, it'll, I don't know why that came up, but it'll pop up.
Is that yours?
Hey, I'm just trying to figure out how that works, especially.
Well, we get pictures of the cars too. So say we had a partial plate, we know it's a white SUV. You can see it on the camera. Those plate readers, they take the actual license plate and the whole picture of the car. So a lot of times you have the plate, they put the plate on a different car. So you might, that's how we know, okay, they changed it, so it's gonna be a little bit harder to find. But we do see the actual image of the vehicle.
It's like when you get a ticket.
Yeah, the red light ticket, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
that's it.
That picture.
We all know those.
Yes.
Really well.
Can't get out of those.
Yeah.
All right, the last question from the ones that were sent in earlier is that some of our panelists have been critical to the size of the police budget and have even called for an audit. Would you commit to a plan that ensures that we maintain and increase the number, maintain or increase the number of police assigned to beat patrols in the 20th district?
That'd be me. So, yes, so the question's a little bit interesting is what I'll say. Because on the one hand, they're talking about the budget, on the other hand, they're talking about the officers. Those are two different things, so let's make sure we separate this, right? Now, let's talk your budgets. How many of you guys like your taxes being higher? Please, put your hands up. Didn't think so. Okay, so, when you look, for example, our current deficit is $538 million. Every time we're raising taxes, we're trying to fill that bucket. So let's talk about how your budget actually works. You've got money that's already allocated due to state mandates to pay off your pensions. Then you've got the rest of the money you can actually move around. That's called the corporate fund, right? In the city of Chicago, you have 36 different departments. Your Department of Streets and Sands, your HR department, your police department, fire department, you got 36 of them, all right? Out of your corporate fund, that's all the money you get to use, right? 43% of that goes to one department out of the 36. So you tell me what happens to the other 35, right? They all get shorted. So that one budget is the police department, right? I just want to frame it for you again. Our deficit, $538 million. The police budget, $2 to $3 billion with a B, right? That's where your dollars are going. That's when your taxes are getting raised, where it's going to. I've been calling for an audit because, like anything else, if you put money into a system and you're not getting the results that you want to see on the other end, you want to lift up the hood and see what's working. So when I talk to even officers on the ground, I go, you guys got a big budget. Do you see that on the ground? They go, I don't see it, and I'm out here every day, right? So calling for an audit is just being fiscally responsible, right? We can audit every single department, but you probably want to start with the biggest one, which ends up being CPD. And I would argue, if we're for accountability across the board, we want to make sure the dollars are being used. And here's why. Officers have, in my belief, and you guys can definitely correct me, 3 core functions: apprehension, investigation, and emergency response when it's appropriate. What do we call them for, though? Those 3 things: permit parking, somebody's parking in a permit spot, somebody's got a mental health issue, there's a homeless person on the street, somebody's got a substance use disorder, there's a cat stuck in the tree. You've got these officers working 14 to 16 hours a day. They don't take any days off. When they have days off, they get taken away from them. These officers need mental health support they don't even get. If they have to leave any more than 10 sessions, they have to ask for permission to have more therapy. You ask me a job that needs more therapy than most, it's the folks out there doing the jobs that none of us would sign up for, right? But we don't actually right fit what their jobs are. We just keep dumping on more and putting money into the budget and hoping it works out. And because it's visceral and people are scared, they go, don't touch that, we need more money there or else it's not gonna get fixed. If it was about money getting dumped in and fixing it, it would have been fixed. 43% of all the dollars we get to use go to one department out of 36. Now that is separate from the other part of the question. Officers, and do we have enough, do we need to maintain? Clearly we need to make sure that we're hiring because there is attrition. That is an absolutely fair argument to make. But again, we've asked the police department, what is the adequate number you need in every district so that we know? And they've never answered the question, which is why what we want to do is go forward with the new superintendent and say, let's see what the numbers look like. And if we're looking low, that's an absolute fair thing. Let's make sure we're up to where we need to. Hiring isn't happening, let's make sure that's adequate. But why are we spending $2 to $3 billion and we're not seeing it be more effective and we're burning out people that are here? Not to mention that every year, you're paying, on average, $100 million just in misconduct settlements because you're burning people out because they're doing jobs they don't need to be doing instead of actually funding the other departments that can be handling homelessness, mental health disorder, substance use disorder. These guys don't want to do it. They want to do their job. Stop giving them extra jobs for people that other people could do and you could pay them for, and they'll be able to do their core function effectively. That's why.
I've got a question related to this, and it's something everybody seems to be missing. Okay.
Can't hear you.
Hi. I want to ask a question based on this that I think everybody keeps missing, and I want to direct this to the older people.
Folks, yeah.
Okay. So, part of the problem, 4 people assaulted on Clark, no one pressed charges, fear, whatever. Who is educating the public how to call into 911? You guys could do it, but aren't there programs that teach people this? And number 2, if there can be information you put on your websites that you proactively put out, don't just bury it 5 clicks in, to tell people when to call about what, how to do it, and if it is mental health, who do we call? Because I don't want a social worker coming to Walgreens to stop a robbery, but I don't want a policeman having to deal with someone who's just crazy. And most of us don't know where to call, how to do it, and what to do. And that's on us. But we need information, specific, clear, easy to digest information. Again, there are safety programs, there are advocacy programs, I know they're through CAPS, through the police, through the city. Do any of you know them? How many people here have taken a safety training? Okay, I see 1, 2 hands, 3. How many people are in this room? So I'm just trying to make the point to the older people, that's great and you're right, and we are responsible, but we also need to know what to do and how to do it properly, and if that information isn't available, then the cops are gonna be pissed, and they should be.
No, yeah, that's spot on. So part of it just to relieve you off of responsibility, because 1, yes, that's true. Also, we don't have other numbers, because we've been trying to get a mental health crisis response. We've been actually pushing, had a fight Lightfoot to try to get it going, and all we ended up with was a pilot for 2 to 4 police districts out of 22. So we don't have a system in place to call. The system we tell people is 911, and then they have to direct everything that goes to them and try to figure it out. So that's, again, not on y'all, but to your point, we were in conversations prior to this call about putting together that kind of like call sheet of like victim advocate groups. What else after everything happens to make sure you have that going on. But as far as like emergency response, unfortunately, we're really trying to work to develop more, and 911 is what you end up kind of stuck with until we get systems that actually are fully invested in to be able to do the job.
I'd like to just add that part of our responsibility, right, is to educate. And I've asked at almost every rank across the board how to properly file a police report, and every person I've spoke to in the Chicago Police Department has given me a different answer. So from every level, to the desk sergeant, to a commander, not you, the previous commander, so I've asked COPA, I've asked OIG, and every person has given me a different answer as to how to properly file a police report. So I think a lot of that too is the problem that we're seeing is just overall education and having a centralized procedure on how to do it so that we can adequately get that information out to folks so that these police reports are being filed, that when I say, hey, there's been activity at this address, how many calls have they received? I don't get the answer, no calls, when I know neighbors have called and said, there's activity here, I've seen it, because it's frustrating, right? People are saying, I know this to be an active building where something is occurring, and when I check with the Chicago police, they're saying, nope, we have no reported calls. So people are calling in, but those calls aren't being properly recorded to do things like have a building become a troubled building or have more activity in the area. So a lot of it really is having a centralized answer to how to properly file that. And I would love for somebody within the Chicago Police Department to write it all down and put it on paper so that we could adequately tell you guys on how that works.
We'll work with you and the aldermen to develop it, because you can't just put it on the cops to do another thing. I think this could be through the communications program, through the police, and our
Here's the challenge with that though. I appreciate that, but what you'll end up with is our version of it to add to the other 100 versions of it. So some of it is very centralized in a department that gets more budget than anybody else to figure this thing out from the top down. And
so how do you undermine that so it becomes a clear communication? That's your job in city council, to figure that out with the police, not on them, to put it all together. So maybe you've got an initiative now.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Also, I want to shout out to Patricia. Like, is she here?
I don't think she's here. Karen's here.
Karen's here.
But
Okay.
it's here.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you and thank all of you for coming today. It's getting too close to the top of the hour. I wanted to point out that the reason why we're here is because people stopped me on the street, because I walked to work from Andersonville to Bryn Mawr, and they said, how do we make our community safer? And I said, well, let's figure it out together. And this is the manifestation of that conversation, bringing all of the electeds in this area, commander, and the new district councilors to figure out ways to do that. But we can create things together exactly what you're talking about, because it should be easy, right? For us to communicate with each other, with all of us here. Because if we work together, then we'll all be safer. But that's why I'm really grateful that we have a small district where we can walk everywhere, where we have great transit, we have so many people living in building, and I do want to point out that public safety is not just about crime and holding people accountable, it's everything. You know, it's our infrastructure, it's our CTA, it's buildings that elevators don't work. You know, if we can't get down, if there's a crisis and you're somebody who's a disabled person, you can't get down because the elevator doesn't work, that's public safety too. So I would like to continue to have these conversations with you, because we all have a part to play. If you are interested, please, like we said in the beginning, subscribe to our newsletters, make sure that you know who's on our team. I want to shout out to Angel, who's here. Angel, he's not here. So Angel Rubin, he's our public safety liaison, but he's here too. So we're gonna create this thing that you're saying. There's Angel. Yeah, so please, we're gonna start to wrap up, but please introduce yourself and tell people how they can connect with our office. Go ahead.
Of course. Hi everybody, my name is Angel Rubin Navarrico. I work for the 48th Ward. This was my former boss, and this is my new boss. And you know, always call our office. We're more than happy to distribute information. We understand that there's a lot of questions about information. I have created a public safety guide to help tackle this, and that'll be going out in our 48th Ward newsletter this week. So I hope that is of help to you all and serves as a blueprint for you to learn how to communicate with our local police departments, One Northside, NAMI Chicago, Trilogy. Some of the critical questions you have, I think Alderman Vasquez is right. We just don't have the resources. It's not there. I can't do something that the system doesn't allow me to do. So this is all a work in progress. I am the public safety liaison among the 20 other liaison positions that I have. But I'm really here to answer any of your questions. I'll be sticking around. I have some business cards. And also some of these things that you're asking about, they already exist. And half the battle, like Senator Simmons says, is getting the information out there. You know, a lot of the times we hear on the news all the negativity going around. And sometimes we just have to look at what systems we have. How have we improved them over time? And then how can we use those systems to help our community? And obviously how to improve them. That's always the question, right? How do we improve what we're doing? But please call our office. We're open Monday through Friday. We're located at 1129 West Bryn Mawr. Again, my name is Angel. I'm the public safety liaison for the 48th Ward, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you to make sure we have a safer community. But I'm really excited you all are here, and I just want to thank the neighbors who did all this and who organized, as well as the alders and the commander. We work very well together with 20th PD, and I'd like to share some of that work with you all. So if you have any questions or you want to have a conversation about the way we do things at 48, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
We've got a lot more questions. I want to make sure we get to this one about mental health resources too. What mental health resource supports exist within the 20th district that we can turn to when we see someone in our neighborhood experiencing crisis?
Can we address someone else on the panel? Well, I'm learning, but I know one of the biggest participants that helps us is thresholds.
That's just what I was trying to bring up, was thresholds.
Okay. There could be more. I'm only a month and a half into this district, but we rely heavily on thresholds.
CIT also, right?
CIT, we have CIT officers, and we have a CIT unit that's based out of the police academy. But if you're talking outside resources, I would use thresholds. NAMI, also that's part of CIT. NAMI actually teaches us CIT. So NAMI's a great partner. Alexa James, if she's still there, she's awesome. So I hope that answered your question, or that question.
I just wanted to jump in. A lot of the questions tonight have been more appropriately addressed by the police commander and alders, but I do want to say a few things. So on the topic of mental health, I'm glad that question was asked. I actually serve I'm a vice chair of the Mental Health Committee in the Illinois Senate, and I have been very aggressive in getting money back to our district, to neighborhoods like Edgewater, neighborhoods like Rogers Park, and Uptown, so that we can beef up the capacity of our crisis intervention workers. Money in the budget for Trilogy, money in the budget for C4 Community Counseling Centers in Chicago, who are often the trained professionals that have to go out and actually de-escalate the situation when there's a mental health crisis, and frankly also make sure that there's help before the event occurs. So I just wanted to put that out there. We probably north of $2 million just in my time in office, and we will get a lot more money back to this district because the need is there. And also, we've done the exact same thing for violence prevention, which is the twin issue here. There are actually some organizations in the room that I've been able to get funding for. We're at about $2 million that have gone to organizations in this district, like One Northside, Circles and Cyphers in Rogers Park. They're going out there where outreach workers, highly trained people, are working with young people before there's an event, right? Just like the prevention, making sure we get that part right. And then also making sure that we get jobs to our returning citizens. This is another big thing that my office has been doing. Shanika and I are actually organizing a job fair for returning citizens in about 6 weeks. We'll actually be doing 2, one in Uptown and one in Rogers Park. So I just wanted to put all that out there too, because that's a really important part of the public safety discussion.
Great.
Thank you.
Next one, can somebody talk about the Pre-Trial Fairness Act? What is that?
Have fun, guys.
So the Pretrial Fairness Act, really simple, is legislation that was passed out of the Illinois General Assembly about 2.5 years ago that eliminates cash bail in Illinois. So the idea there is that there's some people that are being detained in jail who can't afford bail, and that there frankly are some people who do really heinous things who are wealthy and can just pay and get right out and right out on the street. So actually, as of last Monday, cash bail is no longer the thing that we use in Illinois. It's a dramatic step forward for public safety because it allows the systems to really focus on issues around violence and not penalizing people who are poor, right? Which is something that doesn't help anyone with community safety. And so that's really the simple version of what the Pre-Trial Fairness Act does. There's some other components in there too, around police accountability, body cams for police officers that are carrying out public safety so that we don't end up with miscarriage of justice or people who say this happened, that happened, no one really knows, because we want a system that has integrity. And so those are 2 highlights from the Pre-Trial Fairness Act.
A little more detail on that, because that's huge to me. Like,
Yeah.
you're letting people out with no bail. So, I mean,
Right.
explain a little more to that.
Or not letting them out. Like,
Yeah.
if they're fighting their case, if like it's a heinous crime, they'll just go to jail and fight their case from the inside, like the poor people.
Okay. I mean, like,
So right now, if you're poor and you catch a case, and even if it's like a lightweight case, you can't bond out because you don't have the money. Whereas if you have the money, you can kill someone and bond out. That will no longer be a thing. Like if you have a heinous crime, you can bond out. You'll fight your case from jail.
4 to 5% are repeat offenders over and over and over. They just keep getting out, and repeating themselves again.
Well, so the
what's being done with that?
judges still have the latitude to make a decision in those repeat cases, or when something is too violent, where someone shouldn't be on the street. So there's still a lot of power that the judges have to navigate this process.
And if I could add something to that, judges are up for election too.
That's right.
So judges are very important to our judicial system, our criminal justice system, and if you all do feel strongly about it, I recommend not just checking any bark on judges, doing the research on the judges that are running.
That's fair. Nobody ever looks at the judges,
I
right?
I do.
Injustice.
It's difficult, but
Yeah, there's a site called Injustice Watch that you can look up to get more ratings on
Really
the
good
judges.
source.
All right, so I think that's gonna be our last question. If you feel like your question was not answered fully, let me know or just hang out. I think a lot of the panel is gonna be sticking around for a few minutes for one-on-one conversations. Yeah, so definitely stick around. I just want to give the panel a chance to say any kind of final words before we wrap up.
I'll go. So again, like some of the work I do in violence prevention, what we do is we offer mental health services to our participants that qualify, those that are likely to commit an act of violence or victims of violence. And all the work we do is centered around preventative measures. So we try not to come after something's happened. That's literally like what the police job is, to make an arrest once the crime is already done. Whereas, like I said, we try to create preventative measures. We have internally at One Northside in our CP4P program created financial literacy programs, peace agreements between groups who have been killing each other for years, just several different internal things that we do that we know work on the day-to-day. Like you said, I didn't catch the name, sir, but that actually prevents violence. As far as mental health issues, we provide trauma-informed care training as well as know your rights trainings, so people may know exactly what to do in certain high-risk situations. So that being said, just I'll be able to give my information out to people that wants to connect with me as far as the work we're doing at One Northside and CP4P, as well as like what the work I'm working with my other district councils to move forward.
I'll just add on, so the COPA People's Academy is starting up on October 10th. We have a friend here from COPA in the house, and if you want to sign up, you can go to chicagocopa.org/CPA. Is that right?
And COPA is the Civilian Office of Police Accountability.
So that's who FOIA is and looks into all that interesting information if you want that. There is a commission meeting for CCPSA this Thursday on the 28th at Truman College at 6:30. That's 1145 West Wilson. The new superintendent Snelling will be in attendance. We'll be asking questions on behalf of our folks in the 20th district. So if you have any questions that need to be asked, you can reach out to us. We'll be able to get those questions asked, or hopefully get those questions asked. And then our next meeting, we hold a monthly meeting as district counselors where we get community feedback. There's public comment. So if you have thoughts on public safety, you can give a public comment. We have folks from COPA, CP4P. Every month we try and do something different across the entire 20th district. Our first couple meetings were in 48. We're in 40 next month. And that's October 9th at 6 p.m. at Swedish Hospital, the Anderson Pavilion. That's 2751 West Winona.
And our meetings will always roughly be the second Monday of each month.
Is that on Alderperson's website?
Yes.
You can look on CCPSA.
Yeah.
On our newsletters too.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember all that extra
Yeah.
today. Well, you kill one spot.
Yeah, for our 40th Ward neighbors, you go to 40thward.org, you scroll to the bottom, you sign up for the newsletter, that way you're informed on everything's going on.
Laura, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, yeah, if you subscribe to the chamber newsletters as well, we try to, business owners get a kind of a special newsletter that will go out to business owners, but we try to link back to all of the alderman newsletters, alderperson newsletters from the weeks prior. And then in our weeklies, like anything, but hearing this feedback here today, it'll help inform kind of the messaging that we put out via our channels as well. So this was all very helpful.
Thanks. Mike, do you want to have any last words?
Yeah, I would just encourage everybody to stay engaged with us. If you've got more questions, for example, about the pretrial fairness office, call my office. I got a whole memo. I can sit down, we can meet and kind of unpack, because there's like 30 different things that legislation does. And you got a good team of elected officials here that want to be engaged, so let's keep this going beyond the night.
Thanks, Mike. Do you want to?
Sure. Me again.
Love it.
Sincerely, it's been an honor to share this time with you. I value each and everyone's opinion in here. Like was echoed, you got a panel up here that cares for this community, me included, and our team. 20's gonna fight hard. I hold people accountable. I will kick them in the ass if they need to be kicked in the ass. And I'm serious, because that's my reputation too on the line. I don't tolerate people blowing off jobs. I want people to be served correctly. It is our job, man, like to your point. But thank you so much. One thing I do want to share, I know the alders all have pages. I'm learning ours, we use Twitter, or whatever it's called, X now. It's called at Chicago Caps 20. Our Cap Sergeant, Sergeant Pohl, isn't here today, but most of this info, if you don't find it on the Alders page, check our page. Social media is everything. It's at your fingertips. So, and again, thank you. And if you need anything, just reach out. Thanks again.
Yeah, I want to thank you all so much for coming. I want to thank all the electeds and thank the commander. I think in really soon we're going to have him rocking the Cubs hat over here on the north side.
I don't know about that.
I knew he was going to say that. No, but right, I figured. Both. We're not picking. I'm the very north sider right now. So just want to thank you all so much for everything you all do and for being engaged. I'll keep it nice and short and say, please help us get the seats back where they were once we wrap up. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I believe Nicole is going to have a couple things after I speak about ways that you can plug in with the 48th Ward. This is just half of my team here. Angel, raise your hand. Public Safety Liaison, and also Nicole Granicki, my Chief of Staff. I want to thank the District Councilors. Please do engage with them. This is the way that we're going to bridge the trust between our residents and also Chicago Police Department, Andre Vasquez, our alderman on the other side of Clark Street, on the west side of Clark Street.
Sorry. Actually, I was going to shout out 773-999-3313. Can I mention the team? Because I feel real guilty right now. We've got our Chief of Staff, Kat Sharp, in the back. Hi, Kat. How you doing? We got our Director of Development and Comms, Allison Murphy, here with us. Right. We've got our Neighbor Engagement Coordinator, Kim Cook, in the back as well. And Deirdre works with us, but she's elected official right now, so Director of Neighbor Service. Yep.
Oh, we got some CP4P staff in here. We got supervisors, Darrell Dacres in the back. We got one of the newest outreach workers, Kid on him. That's social Rolando. So we have support in the community. So definitely make contact. Let's exchange information and let's build community together.
Absolutely. And then I just wanted to say thank you again for being here. We didn't have a full panel up here. I want to shout out to all the block club leaders who showed up today. I want to shout out to the nonprofits that are here, including One North Side, including Chicago Therapy Collective, including the Chamber of Commerce, DEI Committee. There are so many people who make this community really special, and we want to know each other. I also want to shout out to some of the first people that I met in Andersonville that are here in the room, including Ann and Adelma. You know, this is the way that we're going to continue to keep building. We're going to bring people together and keep talking about these issues. This is the only way forward, is to build community. So I look forward to doing it with you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to Nicole, who's going to round us out today.
The last thing I had on the agenda was just to kind of update everybody on upcoming meetings too. So a bunch of those were covered. The only ones we didn't mention yet are the B meetings or the CAPS meetings. If you're west of Clark and Andersonville, that's B12. They're meeting October 11th and December 13th at St. Gregory Gym. If you're east of Clark Street in Andersonville, that's B13. They meet at Philadelphia Church October 18th and December 20th. There's also the community conversation, which is the CPD strategic planning that is coming up. That's October 26th, 6 o'clock, Philadelphia Church. The district council meetings we talked about October 9th at Swedish Hospital. CCPSA at Truman College, Thursday, 6:30. Join your block club. Lots of meetings. Sign up for the newsletters to get all this info.
Grab a chair.